Welcome, everyone, to episode 63 of the Thundercraps podcast, where we forge through the shitstorm that was WCW Thunder. I am your host, the man, the Macho Man, Josh Kaiser. And joining me today, a turkey, Kyle Hoagland.
Man, that's how you can tell how bad this show was. That's
if that is not any indication of what we are about to break down, I don't know. I was thinking about it. I looked back at my stars, and I'm like, ooh. Where I asterisk things like, these are good quotes. I had those, and I'm like, I have nothing else.
You know what? We kind of look back on all of our other projects, all of our other podcasts that you and I and the other host that shall remain nameless. The fact that it's episodes like this that make you look back and go, this is the 63rd episode. I think at this point, is this the most full-length episodes of any of our podcasts that we've done at this point? Is 63? Have we?
You might be right about that. Now that we go back and think about it, it's got to be right up there.
But it just like, this is a type of show that's like, we're gonna do this next week. I don't know how or why, but we're doing this next week. But man, I mean, there's plenty to talk about. It's just there's not a lot of anything glowing.
Yeah. I guess there's plenty to talk about. That one I even hesitate a little bit, but there is definitely nothing glowing to say here.
There's nothing to talk. There's not going to be a whole lot to talk about as far as like you would think. All right, this is the week. Actually, technically, we'll talk about. I mean, we'll talk more about it. This is now 2 weeks after Slamboree. You would think, oh, all the storylines are starting to build. We missed a complete week because of the NBA playoffs. For those, obviously, we're going ahead, but this is a taped Thunder. We after the taped Thunder before Slamboree, we'd have a live Thunder right afterwards, but the NBA playoffs got in the way. So now we have Thunder, which is May 20th, which is, like I said, 2 weeks since the last time we've done a Thunder, and there should be a lot to talk about. But not only is there not a lot to talk about with storyline, there's a lot that they just didn't even mention. There's a lot of questions that I had just littered throughout this entire episode that I still don't think have been answered, and I'm still trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah, we will get into all of those questions and our best answers, but I did want to give you a quick note. I went back and looked at our Pseudo Nerd podcast, the first long-running podcast we did, and we had a total of 83 episodes. Those include our mini shorts, but as for full-length episodes, 66. So we're coming right up on our full length, but we do have another 20 or so before we've surpassed our longest-running podcast.
All right, fair enough. We'll see where our sanity is in what about 4 or 5 months,
or 4 or 5 episodes at the rate we're going.
True.
Of course, it is Thunder 63. It is May 20th, 1999. We were postponed a week in Thunder time thanks to the NBA playoffs, and I really think, if anything, the NBA put us put the WCW universe out of their misery for a week. We figure out, I guess, by context clues, that it is a pre-taped show. We never see Tenay. We never see Zbyszko. And we just immediately open up with Mean Gene at the entrance ramp. He's got one of the hottest superstars around. He does say we're live, but I'm calling bullshit on this. And out comes Buff Bagwell. So Mean Gene and Buff Bagwell here. Mike Tenay's going to call it Monday Nitro, so we're really off to the races. It's fucking pre-taped, and he messes it up. So if that is any indication, we are really looking good. Buff Bagwell is going to get on the microphone and say, he's happy to be here in Wichita. So thank you, Buff, for letting us know where we're at, because Mike Tenay can't do his goddamn job. But that said, Buff is going to say that he is Buff and he has the stuff. Then he's going to say the doo-doo daddy line. And then he's going to say that Scott Steiner, or actually he's challenging Macho Man tonight, who's not Buff and is not the stuff.
All the original one-hit wonders that is a Buff Bagwell promo.
I did not realize just, how cliched he is,
it's how often he goes to that well. Like after he said it like the third time, I was like, dude, we get it.
Yeah, gosh, I did not remember it being so bad, and it is that bad. But we then move to our first replay of the night. We've got replays from Slamboree Kyle, live video clips, not just stills. We find out Gorgeous George beat Charles Robinson. That's going to allow Macho Man Randy Savage to get reinstated. We find out Piper is going to beat Ric Flair by disqualification. Eric Bischoff actually comes out at some point. So now it's, I guess Piper's in charge of WCW, but Bischoff's also kind of in charge of WCW. Ric Flair, I think, still thinks he's in charge of WCW, so a lot going on here. Sting and Goldberg, the franchise, this is the matchup everybody wanted, so naturally it ends in a no contest. Thanks to Bret Hart's interference, the Steiner brothers. Oh, by the way, the Steiner brothers are back together. There's some interference from them. And we find out Kevin Nash does win the world title, despite the fact that Savage does come in, interfere, helps DDP win, but Eric Bischoff, the same Eric Bischoff who's apparently not in charge of WCW, is able to keep the match going in order to get a different winner. And so that's your replay. So we saw a lot of what happened at Slamboree. So if you didn't watch Slamboree, but you're watching this pre-taped Thunder, which would be airing a week and a half after Slamboree, where you've already seen 2 nitros of what happened, you're welcome. You are welcome. If you're like us and are only watching Thunders, I mean, I watch Slamboree, but that's beside the point, then it actually is a welcome replay. Whew. After we go to commercial at that point, we come back from commercial, and we get more clips from Slamboree as we see that Rick Steiner and Scott Steiner reunited as heels. They've helped each other win their respective matches, including Rick Steiner giving a chair shot to Buff, who is does not have the stuff in that match. And Rick Steiner, of course, your television champion now, thanks to that help from Scott. We then go to our third replay of the night. This is Booker T as he's calling out Rick Steiner on Nitro. I'm not sure whether it's this past Nitro or a week and a half ago Nitro, but either way, he's calling out Rick Steiner. Says that he is, in fact, the true People's Champion. So I guess that is the moniker everyone is using in 1999. And says this is just business. He wants a piece of Rick Steiner, so they have a match. His music plays. He doesn't come out. He is laid out in the locker room, so you only can use your imagination on who may have taken Booker T out from his match against Rick Steiner. Whew. Those are all your replays to open the show. And then finally, your opening bout on this Thunder. Let's get things rolling, Kyle. Scott Putski's in the ring, and he is wrestling for the television title against the aforementioned Rick Steiner. Rick Steiner coming out rocking an NWO Wolfpack shirt, which apparently he's saying is just a joke as he's mocking the NWO Wolfpack, the same Wolfpack that his brother Scott Steiner, I think, is a part of, the same brother who he is now sided with. It makes no fucking sense to me, but Larry Zbyszko does lay it out for you that says the only thing thicker than blood is money. So
I can think of thicker things. Go on, though.
Rick Steiner, of course, Scott Putski's going to precariously walk backwards towards the corner to make sure he's in line just enough. He's going to turn his head ever so slightly. That takes the Bulldog. That's going to be your win. Oh, wait, nope. Let's lock on some stupid fucking elbow lock, STF, whatever you want to call it. I gave the match 2 stars because they didn't mess up, I guess, but I'm really being incredibly kind with that 2-star rating.
You most certainly are. I gave the 1 3/4. A fucking elbow lock? I would have taken the STF chin lock that we've been seeing over just, not to mention, not only was it a chin lock, it looked like Rick didn't know how to apply it. Like he was like trying to put in like a different hold, like maybe like a Kimura lock, and then said, fuck it, and then just put it in just like a regular elbow lock. Once again, a move that no one taps out to, except Scott Putski, apparently. Also, I do remember this part of like 99 and into like early 2000. They really push Rick Steiner during this part of his career, and it's such a waste of fucking time. Like, there is no reason. They even mentioned somewhere during this match that Rick Steiner had won the TV title 10 years ago, back in 1989. That tells you all you need to know about the reasons why Rick Steiner should not have the TV title on him. It's not necessary. He he doesn't bring any interest, intrigue. We're not pushing any of like the younger stars that where the TV title could be used to catapult their career. Rick Steiner is what he is. He's Rick Steiner. He's one half of the Steiner brothers. He does not need the TV title. This is a big waste, a wasted opportunity to put a belt on somebody.
Would you prefer Scott Putski had won this match?
Oh no, absolutely not. But once again, that is definitely not the argument we're going to have. Although there ain't nothing wrong with the Polish Hammer. I'm just saying, Rick Steiner. But like I said, Booker T is slowly starting to outgrow the TV title in mid 1999. So I'm okay that he drops the title, but not to Rick Steiner.
Can't argue with you there. We go then to backstage promo. Ric Flair, the Horsemen are standing there. They're calling out Barry Horowitz, who comes over. They said that, they're giving him an opportunity to possibly be in the Four Horsemen, but all he has to do is scare David Flair in the match a little bit tonight, and then until they eventually give him the sign to lay down and tap to the figure four. Barry Horowitz seems a little hesitant, but Ric Flair continues to basically let him know that he is running WCW, and Barry Horowitz ultimately says, I know, I understand, I got your message, and shakes his hand. So we're going to get a David Flair, Barry Horowitz tonight on Thunder. It doesn't get much bigger than that.
So Piper beat Flair at the pay-per-view in order to get control of the company. He got that power by some other guy with power, calling for a disqualification finish to give Piper the match. Piper then immediately fires Flair at Slamboree, and now we're here on Thunder with Ric Flair as the president. There's a big fucking hole that I do not understand. Who's in fucking charge?
I don't know at this point.
Trust me, it's a rhetorical question, but it doesn't make any sense. Like, well, you know what? I'll save all of my Slamboree bitching later. We'll talk about that at the end because I got some gripes about just the pay-per-view in general as well.
The one part of the night that you probably won't have a gripe about is going to be our next match. It's Juventud Guerrera and Kidman. We do find out Mike today is going to let us know a big announcement coming for this Monday night on Nitro. Hollywood Hogan making his return, Kyle. So Hogan save us, I guess. The crowd is into this match. They are pro Kidman, anti Hoovy. He's playing the heel here. We do find out in this match that Nash is putting up $250,000 of his own money to wrestle Bret Hart on the Tonight Show. He's going to be doing this. The WCW cameras are going to be there, so we'll find out all the action. But you let us know, Kyle, that actually doesn't take place.
It does not, because actually that's supposed to happen on Monday, May 24th, I believe. And on May 23rd, anybody who's a wrestling historian knows, May 23rd, 1999 is Over the Edge, the pay-per-view for WWF where Owen Hart dies. So, obviously Bret Hart's not going to be in the biggest mood in the world to wrestle somebody on the Tonight Show the day after. And Bret Hart takes about, I think it's like 4 or 5 months off.
And totally understandable in that regard. As for the match, Hoovy, of course, going to go to the top rope, jump down like a pencil. As usual, when you jump down like a pencil, you're going to take 2 feet to the face. It is never the best move to execute off the top rope. Kidman's going to land a superplex. Hoovy's eventually go for the Hoovy driver, but Kidman curls it up into a roll-up, and that's how you're going to be your winner. I gave it 2.5 stars. I thought it was a fun match. You can obviously see the chemistry here between Kidman and Hoovy. They've probably wrestled about 1,000 times at this point, but they still make it entertaining. And I like that it was, not a shooting star press, not a Hoovy driver, not a 450 that ends it, but a reversal into a curl-up 3 schoolboy there. I like the ending. 2.5 stars for me.
Yeah, I agree. I give this 2 3/4. Definitely not a bad match. I enjoyed pretty much from the beginning to the end of it. Though I feel like this match was definitely a victim of past matches because we've seen these two guys just tear the house down with better matches. So I wish I could have given this a match a higher rating, and I think that's probably why you were a little bit more reserved as well. Is that we've obviously seen these guys go harder and had a much more exciting match, especially with something more on the line, like an actual cruiserweight title being on the line or something like that. So I don't want to take away from the match. I still gave it 2 3/4. And it was a good work rate, but it was a relatively short match. I think it was about 8 minutes long, and no mess ups. Everything was fine. But I mean, at this point, I'm also comparing their past work, and I think the match could have been better based on who was in the ring.
I will say though, we talk about they've wrestled a lot. They have a lot of past work, so it's we're comparing that. But I think it's also worth noting that for two people that have wrestled a lot, they do manage to make it not seem stale, right?
Well, I think that also here's what I've also noticed. I would say the first couple of matches that I've seen with like Hoovy in particular. The first couple, it's very high work rate, high flying moves, back and forth, a dozen near falls. And then I think once you start seeing like Hoovy versus Ray Part 10 and Hoovy versus Kidman Part 8, that's when you start seeing Hoovy as the kind of flamboyant, taunting. The pace of the match kind of goes down a little bit. We've mentioned that before. I think the last time Ray and Hoovy were in a match where it was just like, man, these guys are taking too many breaks, to get their pops or boos from the crowd. This was kind of similar, where Hoovy would do like a single move and then just go to the middle rope and taunt for about 30 seconds. So I did have to take some points away from there.
I agree with you there. Yeah,
I think the reason why he's doing that is because he doesn't want to get himself caught up in like just basically like doing a pre-canned Kidman match where he's already done that. So doing breaks like that, I guess, can try and add a little bit of variety to the fact that he's wrestling the same fucking 4 people every month.
Yes, no, and you're dead on right there. I agree with you on that. After this match, our Cruiserweight champion, Rey Mysterio Jr., is wrestling Kaz Hayashi. Two things I want to point out about these two before we start the match. Can't believe Kaz Hayashi is still rocking the Glacier gear, but I guess he is. I don't get it.
Glacier's not around anymore. At least we haven't seen any version of Glacier or I can't believe I can't remember the actual wrestler's name. But yeah, Kaz came into WCW with no gimmick or angle, and now his gimmick is he wears Glacier's outfit. So I guess it's better than nothing.
I guess. But then Mike Tenay, the ever so bilingual Mike Tenay, lets us know that Rey Mysterio is the king of mystery. And I have to be honest, until he said that, I have literally never taken Rey Mysterio's name and translated it.
Well, you probably just thought his name was Ray.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Is like
right,
I just always assumed his name was Ray, and like Mysterio, okay, like maybe he just added a cool last name. Literally King of Mystery. It was like a light bulb moment for me. I don't know. It just kind of blew my mind.
So actually, for as long as we've known Rey Mysterio, do you even know what his first name is?
Literally would have thought it was Ray, and I probably would have bet money on that.
Right, it's Oscar.
Well, there you go. And Oscar Mysterio just doesn't have the same ring to it.
It most certainly does not.
As for this match, Kaz Hayashi's going to drop the People's Elbow, which was cool, right? Some variation of it.
To the adulation of the Wichita crowd.
We do then get an "oh yeah," and believe it or not, it was not the Kool-Aid Man, but in fact Macho Man who came out. He comes out with, of course, his 3 ladies, so his stable. He's going to get on the microphone and basically continue to say that Rey Mysterio is the man over and over again. It also says later we'll find out if Buff is in fact the stuff. So I guess Macho Man has accepted the challenge at that point. Mickey J, totally okay with this, sort of distraction. While Savage is on the outside, basically, pumping up Rey Mysterio. Talks about how Rey Mysterio is the giant killer, took out Kevin Nash.
As Kaz has beaten the ever-living fuck out of Ray the entire time.
Yep. Apparently this is why Macho Man is so interested in Ray, is because Ray beat Nash, and Macho Man's trying to go for, trying to win that world title from Nash. And you find out that Macho Man's stable of Gorgeous George, Miss Madness, and Medusa is where Macho Man wants Mysterio to join. So there's a lot of M's here. I think they could just call themselves the M stable, and it would make sense.
Would you have joined the stable in its current form?
Anything with Gorgeous George, sign me up.
That's fair.
We do have time in this middle of this match with Macho Man, talking shit and kind of pumping up Rey Mysterio to cut to commercial. Okay, fine, whatever. We come back from commercial, and Rey Mysterio is your winner with a top rope hurricanrana. I gave it 2.25 stars. I thought the match was solid until the Macho Man kind of ordeal, and then it's a pre-taped fucking show, and we come back just in time to catch the finish. What the fuck was that?
There is a lot of parts in this show, from Tenay calling it Nitro to this particular moment here, that you would think that's what happens when it's live. You're like, yeah, what are you gonna do? It's a live show. It's not live. It's taped. There's no excuse for this bullshit. I gave this 2 stars. I really didn't have much to say about this, but yeah, the same thing with me about there's no excuse about coming back from commercial. Ray hits a move 2 seconds afterwards and pins. That doesn't, on a taped Thunder where you've got production power behind you, that there's no excuse.
Absolutely none at all. After the match, Macho Man's going to continue to talk about how Ray's the man and he's the man. He's going to ask Ray to join his team. Ray's going to say it's an honor. He grew up watching Macho Man, but no thank you. He has other plans. He actually, Macho Man pushes him one more time. Ray said it's going to be an oh no. Gorgeous George is going to push him from behind. Savage is going to attack him. Ray's going to kind of get back up into it on Savage, but then the women continue to turn the tide. Ray's going to get beat down. Kidman's going to come in for the save. It's going to be short-lived. This is going to bring Conan out. He's going to help for a minute, but that's going to be short-lived as well. He's going to get a top rope elbow drop from Macho Man. So Team Madness continuing to dominate Kidman, Ray, and Conan. So
for the record, Macho Man by himself with 3 bitches. I keep thinking back on like when we see like the black and white, the NWO back in the day, where like one guy or 2 guys is able to take out like the entire NWO. Macho Man with 3 ladies can take out 3 reasonably. All right. So arguably the greatest cruiserweight wrestler of all time, a guy who's probably the second best in the company, and the Mexican Hulk Hogan all get their shit kicked in by 3 ladies and Macho Man Randy Savage.
You heard us right.
It makes no sense, Mike. I get it. We get Macho Man's back. Great to have him, but man, I guess pace yourself a little bit. Like he's just running roughshod over everybody in the company.
Yeah. After this, we get our 4th replay of the night. Saturn and Raven, your tag team champions, defending their titles on Nitro against Benoit Malenko.
Oh, by the way, Saturn and Raven are the tag champions.
Yeah. And Kanyon, of course, helping Saturn and Raven defend that title. And then we cut to backstage where Bam Bam Bigelow's talking shit and calling them turkeys. This is going to lead to our next match. The tag titles are on the line. Saturn and Raven, accompanied to the ring by Kanyon, defending those tag titles against Horace and Vincent. We're going to get Freebird rules here, as Kanyon is going to swap shirts with Raven, and
but that's not even Freebird rules. Freebird rules just means that you can. It's a combination of 2 of the ending 3. This is just like Raven's rules with like the fact that people can just sub in by, oh, you know what, you put on the sunglasses. That means you're no longer in this match anymore.
So now Ric Flair makes his own rules. Piper has his own rules. Bischoff runs WCW, and we have Raven giving his own rules. So nobody is in charge if everybody's in charge.
Where's JoJo?
We do get Vincent dropping some of the weirdest elbow drops I've ever seen. And naturally, Saturn and Raven will win this match. We're going to get the drop toe hold at one point onto the chair, a Death Valley driver, and Raven's going to get on top of Saturn as they're going to double pin, because that's what you need to do when you're beating Vincent and Horace. I gave the match 2 stars because I think it did absolutely nothing to make Saturn and Raven look strong here. And I think I'm being kind here with my 2-star rating, but that's what I gave it.
I gave it 2 stars. Oh, by the way, Saturn wasn't the legal man when he pinned him. Just wanted to make sure that was very clear.
That's why Raven got in on that pin too.
Yeah, he wanted to make sure that he was a part of it. Sure. Maybe it's why Raven did it. He's just like, wait, I'm supposed to pin this guy. I thought it was an okay match. It was convoluted as all fuck. With Kanyon adding himself into it. It was funny enough. I mean, I think this was probably one of the more entertaining parts of the show, was watching Kanyon and Raven just like swap clothing to like as if they're trying to confuse Mickey J, which, I mean, let's be clear here. By the end of this year, Mickey J is on everyone's shit list for for refereeing this year. So just the hits continue. Vincent and Horace are boring as fuck. I mean, if you have a number one contender, they're like, hey, NWOB team or Black and White, whatever you want to call them, your team is going to get a tag title match tonight. So pick your two best guys and bring them to the ring. And they picked Horace and fucking Vincent.
Tag team of the century right there. After this, we get our fifth replay of the night. It's Ric Flair on Nitro. He's talking to Buddy Lee Parker, telling Buddy Lee Parker that he needs to lay down in his match against David Flair. So this is similar to that Horowitz clip we saw earlier. We cut to the match where it looks like Buddy Lee Parker starting to dominate till he gets the signal, and then he stops. But then he starts to going back to winning the match again, so I wasn't really sure what happened. But then he goes to the top and misses the very awful-looking top rope move. That's going to lead to the figure four, and Charles Robinson's going to ring the bell. So I guess Buddy Lee Parker jobbed in the match like he was supposed to, but it actually looked like David Flair won the match like a normal match would have ended. A little confused, but maybe I just, the clip didn't do it justice. So let's move into the next match. It is David Flair. Ric Flair's out there with him, wrestling Barry Horowitz. The rest of the Horsemen do join shortly thereafter. Barry Horowitz early on dominating the match. Arn's going to give Barry the signal, but it doesn't look like Barry is going to listen, but then he goes into the corner and Flair's going to move. Barry Horowitz is going to hit his knee and hurt it. This is going to lead to the figure four. Barry Horowitz is going to tap. I didn't give this match a rating. You did, but ultimately we should discuss the match because what you wrote is exactly how I felt is, what the fuck is going on here? Are these guys actually winning the match and then turning and jobbing? Because it sure looks like they're just winning the match early on, and then David Flair takes control and ends up winning it. It doesn't look like they're actually intentionally throwing matches like the story is leading you to believe they are.
And once again, maybe the wrestler who's taking the job is supposed to mask it as good as possible to not make it look like, like David Flair's like, wait, this guy is totally like jobbing. Like, because at this point, David Flair's not aware. I'm sure that Ric Flair is right telling his wrestlers to job. So I will give credit where it's like, if they said, hey, make this look as believable as possible, but you're trying to tell a story in a wrestling TV show, it needs to be a little bit more obvious, especially to the wrestling crowd at Wichita, because what they're seeing is Barry Horowitz being the shittiest wrestler of all time, losing to greener than Godzilla shit David Flair. And another thing I wanted to bring up was earlier in the night, they mentioned that on Nitro, Charles Robinson took an elbow drop from Macho Man and got a collapsed lung and was staying at the hospital for an undisclosed amount of time. And yet here he is on Thunder in a segment in the back like he's totally fine and reffing this match as well. So that's a little bit of an oopsie. Dude, that's Super Cena fucking healing power right there. But yes, I do agree with you that the Buddy Lee match and the Barry Horowitz match, they did a wonderful job of masking the fact that they were jobbing. But the problem with doing that is, yeah, you're tricking David Flair and thinking he's winning legitimately, but who gives a fuck about that? What you care about is trying to convey the correct story to the audience. And right now, I don't think they're doing a good job with it because it's supposed to make David Flair look like he's shit, which is another horrible storyline. Is David Flair is so bad that he has to get people like Buddy Lee Parker and a jobber's jobber in Barry Horowitz to purposely job in order for them to win. And yet, though, in the match, it doesn't even look like they're doing that. They're making it look like David Flair is actually getting over. So it's really confusing, and it's not doing favors for anybody.
Yep. And after this match, we get our sixth replay of the night. It's Savage on Nitro. He's telling Piper he wants a title shot right now, and he won't leave the ring till he gets that. Piper, of course, isn't going to give in, but Gorgeous George is going to hit Piper with crutches from behind. This is going to leave Savage attacking Piper. Bischoff's going to come in. He's going to get attacked. Savage is going to go to the top rope to drop an elbow, but Nash is going to come in and stop him, and Nash is going to tell Savage he's got to pry the belt out of his dead hands, so I guess he accepted the challenge. I'm not really sure. But then it cuts to the main event, and it's DDP and Nash wrestling. Bigelow's going to come in, Savage is going to come in, and it's going to end with Savage, Bigelow, and DDP beating down on Nash. So a lot to digest there, but not a whole lot worthwhile. We then move to fireworks. The pyro's going off. It's main event time. All right, so we must be getting our Savage Bagwell match, and Disco Inferno's music hits. So apparently we're getting a Disco Inferno versus Curt Hennig match. We found out Curt was also a victim of the Savage beatdown recently. As for this match, they're wrestling early on. It's going to get thrown out pretty early because Savage is going to come out. He's going to attack Disco Inferno. This is going to lead to Buff Bagwell coming out, and the bell's going to ring, and apparently we're moving right into our Buff Bagwell Macho Man main event. That's why the pyros went off. I don't know. This is just a giant fucking clusterfuck.
If you actually go back and watch it again, it's a jump cut. So they show the fireworks and the pyro and the smoke and everything, and as soon as all that fireworks and all that stuff ends, abruptly they go to a big pan out, like an arena shot that pans over towards the entrance where Disco's music is playing, and you'll notice the area near the entrance is clean as a whistle. There's no smoke, there's no residue, there's no nothing from all that pyro. So they actually, what they did was they videotaped all the pyro, the fireworks, and then, but that was taped earlier or wherever they wanted to tape it, and then they just jump cut to Disco and Curt Hennig. So I like I said, it's one of those little things that I just noticed, that when Disco was coming out, I'm like, oh wow, that was, the pyro wasn't shot, or it was just way later when they did it, but it didn't line up. That's all I'm trying to get at.
That makes sense. As for the match with Buff and Savage, they have a match early on. Buff is going to get choked out by Medusa, by Savage. Savage is going to work his neck. He's going to grab a chair, choke him some more. Ultimately, it's going to lead to a disqualification. After the match, they're going to choke Buff some more in the ring with the chair. He's eventually going to get Medusa and Gorgeous George to hold the chair down on Buff's throat as he's going to head to the top rope. This brings security out. They're going to get in the way, plead him not to. He's going to start clearing out security. That's kind of the show, but really, that was your main event. I didn't even bother rating the main event, but I really want to discuss Nick Patrick's hair.
Nick Patrick's hair, yes.
Wow. He has grown that mane, has he not?
He's been gone for a while. He looks like if Danny McBride went back in time to the 80s. It looked amazing. He had his porn stash. He had the Billy Ray Cyrus mullet. I mean, he just looked majestic.
Yes.
He had never looked better.
He looks like a main event referee, for sure.
Oh, absolutely. He should referee every match. Or no, better yet, he should only referee Macho Man matches.
That said, that is your Thunder. You have a lot to talk about, so let me do my rundown, and then I'll just, leave the podium to you. If you didn't know, if you couldn't tell, this Thunder sucked. There's really nothing more to say about it. Nothing really happened. You're pushing Savage as a heel. The matches actually started out okay during the early part, and then the final couple matches were just a bunch of throwouts, and nothing happened. This is one of those Thunders. I finished it, was like, well, I just wasted 90 minutes of my life. I'm not even sure why Savage is so unhinged. He's got 3 women with him, and while he's being this heel, attacking everybody, he's helping Paige. I don't know what's happening with David Flair and that storyline. Overall, though, a pre-taped Thunder. They had a week off, and they came up with that post-production bullshit with poor cuts, bad editing, finishes after commercial breaks. It was just terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible Thunder. One of the worst I think we've seen in a while. That said, Hoagie, what did you think about Slamboree, this past Thunder, and whatever else you want to discuss at this point? The floor is yours.
So the one thing I wanted to hurry up and mention that I thought was really funny is the ending, or I guess the ending of the show is Gorgeous George and Medusa holding a chair, choking out Buff Bagwell with a chair to the neck as Macho Man is going to the top to do I don't know what he's gonna do. Like there's a chair propped up. Like I don't know where he's gonna go with it.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Is he gonna do with the pencil thing and actually hit it? I don't know. But I think what I found was so funny though is security comes in, right? They all completely ignore the fact that two people are choking a man on the floor with a chair. They just all go to Macho Man to plead for him to not jump off the top rope to do whatever the fuck he was going to do to Buff Bagwell. Meanwhile, they're completely just not even addressing the fact or getting a chair, taking the chair away from the ladies.
Yeah.
So I thought that was pretty funny. There was 10 people in the ring and not one of them thought to turn around and take the chair away from the ladies. So that was my one thing I wanted to mention about the match that I thought was hilarious. As far as this Slamboree, let's go with Slamboree first, just because let's go in order.
Why go in order? They don't ever go in order.
Fuck it, right? It's so sad that a match like Sting and Goldberg goes to a no contest. This whole Slamboree is weird, just because I don't know how. First of all, I don't know how Eric Bischoff has any power. Last time we ever saw him, he was in a production truck, handing wrenches to Kevin Nash. He has no power. He literally cannot do anything. The Roddy Piper match that ended in a disqualification, which right then and there is an unsatisfying way for a match to end, unless you literally are going to keep continuing the story, which I guess they're going to have to because Piper is still around. We get a recap on Nitro where Piper says he's the commissioner, which I thought he was the president because he won the match at Slamboree. And now we got Bischoff just being in the ring, sounding like he's got power, but he doesn't. So none of this makes any goddamn sense. It's not explained whatsoever. So I have, like I said, no idea what the fuck is going on. All the big storylines of Slamboree have convoluted, unfinished, or completely empty endings, which is shitty because it's a pay-per-view. The last thing you want is for a pay-per-view to, it's these matches happen as if they didn't need to happen. That is a horrible thing to do for a pay-per-view. Now let's go to this Thunder. Macho Man buries half the WCW roster on Thunder. I get it that we're pushing this Nash and Macho Man storyline, even though we have this $250,000 challenge with Hart and Nash. So I still find this is a bit out of place. But Savage, like I said, takes out Rey Mysterio, Kidman, Conan, Disco, and Buff Bagwell.
He did help,
basically by himself, except for maybe Medusa kicking somebody in the chest. But basically, Macho Man is just doing whatever the fuck he wants. He's an old wrestler, and he's burying all of this young talent that really should be who you should be cradling and grooming for the future of the company. But once again, there you go. That's WCW for you. I really do enjoy Raven and Saturn as a tag team. I think they're gelling a lot better. I'm slowly but surely really getting into enjoying them as a tag team. I do enjoy Raven more as a singles competitor when he actually has a storyline to share, but this is fine. I'm okay with this. I just wish that I got to watch them on Thunder fight decent talent instead of Mike Enos and Scotty Riggs or literally the shittiest wrestlers in the NWO. I almost wanted to say there was too much recap, but with Thunder being off the air, for a week, I guess it was kind of necessary to have more recap because. Yeah, it's one of those things where I guess I'll forgive. And I did appreciate that we had Slamboree videos. That was cool. Although I would have loved to see, once again, Goldberg and Sting match, even though I know that it was kind of thrown out. But it would have been nice to see a little bit of what happened there. Also, I guess on Nitro, Lex Luger returned and helped Sting fight off the Steiners. I thought that would have been a cool thing to show. Instead of Booker T, taking a fucking dirt nap in the back. Match of the night, I think you and I both agree, was probably Kidman and Guerrera. But once again, in my opinion, I bet they probably have done better. And it was one of the few matches that was not impacted by or distracted by Macho Man. I felt like this whole show was just Macho Man doing whatever the fuck he wanted. But he happened to just let Kidman and Guerrera do their thing, so I appreciate that. And the final thing I wanted to add is, Jesus Christ, David Flair. He shouldn't be in the ring. I don't want to go and say the guy sucks. The guy's not ready. If he's going to be a wrestler, that's fine. But I feel like me and you watching wrestling, and as much as we've done, you and I probably could have had a better looking match than what David Flair was trying to do. His knife edge chops are dog shit. He doesn't know how to put on the figure four. And the storyline that they're building around him is guys that I don't think I've ever seen win a match. I'm sorry, we've seen Barry Horowitz win a couple when that weird WWF storyline where you start winning matches. But Barry Horowitz has always been known as being like one of the greatest enhancement talents ever, as far as being like a jobber. You know, he's like legendary in that regard. And Flair's storyline is he's so bad, he's so green, that Ric Flair has to ask the jobbiest of all the jobbers to job on purpose as a storyline. That's how bad and how unready David Flair is. It's doing nobody any favors. It's not going to make me interested at all in David Flair. Also, when the fuck did David Flair and Ric Flair all of a sudden get along now?
Yeah,
where does that explain?
Apparently.
Yeah, I don't get it. So this whole Thunder, like I said, I had a lot of questions about who has the real power. Why are these people getting along? Why are these people not getting along? Why is Macho Man unhinged and like he wasn't that way 2 weeks ago? Last I saw, I understand he was kind of helping out Paige, but he wasn't doing what he's doing now, like just pile driving everybody. So everything just seemed just so out of whack. And I know that next week is going to be even more awkward because of the death of Owen Hart. It's kind of those things where buckle in or buckle up or whatever the fuck you want to say, Thunder Buddies. It's not going to get any better for a while.
No, it is not. That said, hopefully we continue to get better as the show goes on, because if Thunder can't be good, at least we can be entertaining. So if you haven't yet followed us on your podcast listening devices, go do it. Leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing. Of course, give us a follow on social media. And then you can always, of course, go to thundercraps.com for all of our previous episodes. Then we need to check out Thunder 64. It is May 27th, 1999. I hope we're not pre-taped following this pre-taped shithole, but, we can only do what we can do. For Kyle Hogan, I'm Josh Kaiser, and we will see you next time on the Thundercrafts podcast.
We are knowingly out of time. See ya.